That's what, he didn't just say that to Bob Woodward, that's what he said to the President, Obama, when he first said this. So when Obama says to us that he foresees an end to this, or peaking, or coming down, he's either, and it's a little hard to know which it is, he's either totally blowing smoke about what he's heard from his advisors here, or he believes he will say to Petraeus no at some point about staying in and about further troops. I don't know what reason there is to imagine that when he couldn't say no last year or this year, there's going to come a time when he will say no to those people. Right. I don't foresee that. In other words, he's in the same position Lyndon Johnson was in when I worked for him in the Pentagon and in Vietnam. So that means it is up to us to change this context and provide a counterpressure. And we don't do that overnight, obviously. But the next paragraph in the Obama book is the most pessimistic account came from Richard Holden, the giant that they're eulogizing now. And this is a little quote that you don't see in the eulogy. He said about the escalation which he had opposed. Remember, Obama is now eulogizing the man who knew Vietnam, whose advice on Afghanistan was worth something, a lot more than Petraeus, in fact, on the pistol. And he was overruling Holbrooke, along with his National Security Advisor, former Commandant of the Marine Corps, Jim Jones, General Jim Jones, General Lute, who was his main advisor, military advisor on Afghanistan, Pakistan, Lieutenant General Eikenberry in Kabul, who was saying privately that more troops would simply mean more casualties and more Taliban, and that Karzai, to whom he was accredited, was irredeemably corrupt and could not be a partner in this conflict. So Obama was choosing his advice, in effect, because he's dumb. He's not dumb. So he was choosing for political reasons to believe people who were blowing smoke at him, though not entirely. Petraeus is saying, we've got to do it, but it'll be forever. It'll be on his lives. So Obama has responsibility for that. The other possibility, they say, is that he thinks he'll overrule Petraeus at some time in the future. I don't believe that. But here's the guy, then, that they're all saying was the giant of diplomacy, was this and that, who was overruled, and his word of a December escalation said the most pessimistic from Richard Holbrooke, quote, it can't work. He said, not it probably won't, or it'll have problems, or it can't work. He knew that. He didn't tell us that. He told Bob Woodward that. I give him credit. And his last words a couple days ago were, end the war in Afghanistan. His last words before he went on the operating table, where he died. Now P.J. Crowley said, oh, he was joking. What a wry banter. W-R-Y, wry banter. He was saying, he couldn't have meant that, get out of Afghanistan. Because that's not what his boss, Hillary Clinton, is for. And it's not what Barack Obama has chosen. Okay, why are we here? As I looked at this crowd, as I came in, I'll tell you the flashback I actually had. It was a night, it was about April 28th or so, 29th, 1971. Pentagon Papers hadn't come out. They came out in June 13th of 71. They were coming out. The Times hadn't at that time. So we had an affinity group from MIT, where I was at the time. Noam Chomsky, Howard Zinn was in it from BU, Harold Young, Fred Randall, and Mark Mataschny, the husband of Denise Littlejohn. We had this great affinity group. The question was, shall we join the May Day demonstration that's scheduled for just a few days away in Washington? The slogan of that was, if they won't stop the war, we'll stop the government. We'll stop the city. And they brought, I don't know, I think it was at least 20,000 people. So we were going to sit in the streets and so forth. But what we heard was that they were going to do something called mobile tactics, which we weren't so sure what that was. And was it going to be burning police cars, burning buses and things? We weren't crazy about that idea. So somebody was to go down to Washington and see what it looked like from Massachusetts, from Boston, see whether we ought to take part in this. So they came back and they said, well, it's a little uncertain. Nobody's really defining what these mobile tactics are. I don't know how to go. And we haven't decided how we would relate to this. And on this particular night, I was at a meeting at a rally, at Brandeis University. And what reminded me was people on the aisles, people hanging from the chandeliers, just like this, and it's students mainly. And I was the last speaker, and I found myself getting up in front of this very crowded group and asking how many people there had seen the movie Little Big Man. Remember that at all? I remember Little Big Man. Well, Dustin Hoffman is a 90 or 100-year-old Indian who goes to the Native American. But they keep quoting. I said, you know, in Little Big Man, you remember, they'd all just seen it. I said, the slogan that went right through it is the saying of the Sioux, the Lakota Sioux, "Come, brothers, it's a good day to die." And I said, you know, it's never a good day to die, but I think May 1st is a good day to get arrested in Washington. This was a great line. I went home and I said to my wife, well, it seems I'm going to Washington. I can't end with that and then not go. No, it was a good day. And if you've seen the movie Most Dangerous Man, there's some great movies, shots in there, Howard Zinn, and the tear gas. And something, by the way, being events that was very painful to me. I've been a company commander in the 2nd Marine Division, 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines, and I looked by at one point we're by the Washington Monument, and there are all these Marines guarding the civil disturbance. And who were they? They were my 2nd Division Marines. I'll tell you, that really made my heart hurt a lot. Anyway, we're now in a situation where there is a guy in prison now, in solitary. Read Brent Greenwald and Salon.com today, actually, on what solitary for 6 months means, which is what he's been. 23 hours a day in a cell, no pillow, no sheets. I remember the last time I got arrested here in Washington. The no pillow makes a difference if you like to lie on your side or a mess the way I do. You can't do it. You have to use your shoes without shoelaces. 6 months and that way, no pillow. Okay. But the solitary, as Greenwald points out, is a form of torture. My friend Mordecai Vanunu was in 11 and a half years in solitary for revealing the truth. He's a whistleblower like Bradley Manning, and one of the very few who was willing to give his life to tell the truth to his countrymen. 11 and a half years in solitary, and the point of that was to drive him crazy, as Brent Greenwald brings up. It has that effect. And by God, Mordecai did get pretty crazy after about 9 or 10 years. When he got out in the general prison population, he got a lot better. When he got out finally of jail, fortunately he recovered very much. But the point of that is that it made him paranoid, made him crazy. Brad, I just sent a message with that message to Deborah Van Alsten, who's the aunt of Bradley Manning, who's been seeing him in jail, and I said, we really got to press this point. Get him out of solitary here. You know, we don't want him to who said to the guy who turned him in, said, I'm prepared to go to prison for life, or even be executed, to get this truth out to the American people, because they deserve to know. This information should be in their hands. They've got to respond to it, and if they don't, I recognize the mood that I was in, and of course Mordecai was in, but I was in 40 years ago, so I feel for him as a brother. But the point is, could that make sense? Does it make sense to be willing to go to prison, which he may very well do? He's only got 55 years looking at it now, but that's before this latest stuff came out. If they can pin it on him, which they have to do beyond a reasonable doubt, they may or may not do it, but they'll face him with a life sentence, and he may well serve it. Will it have been worth it? I'll tell you that Vanunu, after 18 years in prison, 11 and a half in solitary, has said to me over and over again, of course I would do it again. Of course it's the right thing to do. I don't personally know somebody who went to prison during the war, the people who inspired me to do what I did, and I was prepared to do for life. I don't know one of them who's come out and said, I'm sorry that I did that. The 2 years or 3 years I spent in prison wasn't worth it. It didn't have any effect. Now, they had an effect on me for what that was worth, so you can never tell what the effect may be. Who in this audience may respond, or some other audience. You can't tell what it will be. But if he says, and it won't be fast. But